There comes a moment in life when a single decision feels like it could tilt the entire world. Perhaps it is choosing a career path, deciding to speak your truth, or taking a leap into the unknown that everyone else warns you against. To the untrained mind, these moments appear as random crossroads, arbitrary points of pressure in an otherwise mundane existence. Yet the truth is far more intricate. Decisions are rarely about the visible choices alone. They are about reading invisible currents, sensing subtle patterns, and understanding the often hidden consequences that ripple silently into the future. Most people respond to life reactively, following impulses and fears, while a few quietly perceive the structures beneath, moving with a calm, decisive certainty that seems almost unfair to observers. Imagine walking down a fog-laden street at dawn, the city still asleep, the air crisp and sharp, and every step echoes with the weight of unseen possibilities. One turn could lead you to an encounter that changes everything. One pause could cost you an opportunity you'll never recover. Most minds freeze here, tangled in what-ifs and imagined failures, while the Sigma mind observes, calculating and integrating subtle clues into a coherent internal map. It notices patterns in the rhythm of life, a person's body language, a fleeting opportunity, a timing anomaly, all invisible to the average eye. What feels like instinct is a trained mind's ability to extract meaning from the noise. The hidden science of decision-making begins here, in silence, observation, and the ability to act decisively when others are paralyzed. Decision-making is not linear. It is fractal. Each choice is influenced by countless unseen factors: prior experiences, emotions, subconscious biases, environmental cues, and even energy exchanges with those around you. Have you ever made a choice that seemed minor at the time, only to realize months later it changed everything? That is the subconscious mind at work, processing information far faster than conscious reasoning can follow. The Sigma approach does not ignore these layers. It trusts them, integrating intuition and preparation. Choices become like chess moves, each anticipating possibilities several steps ahead, not in a detached, mechanical way, but with deep awareness of timing, influence, and consequence. Consider a life-altering decision: a young entrepreneur choosing whether to invest in an emerging idea. The casual observer sees risk. The impulsive sees fear. The Sigma mind sees patterns, market behaviors, timing, emotional cues, personal capacity, and acts with calculated precision. Even if the choice appears uncertain, the preparation allows movement without hesitation. Every setback encountered along the way does not derail progress. It feeds a larger system of understanding. This mindset transforms ordinary decision-making into a disciplined craft where intuition is sharpened, emotional awareness guides action, and strategy aligns with opportunity. Emotional intelligence is inseparable from high-level decision-making. Fear clouds judgment, desire distorts perception, and impatience prompts rash choices. The quiet masters of decision-making maintain an inner equilibrium. They pause, reflect, and let emotion inform rather than dictate action. The hidden science lies in this calibration, a balance between analytical thought and emotional insight, between preparation and adaptation. The decisions that feel effortless to outsiders are often a culmination of countless internal adjustments, reflective pauses, and subtle strategic shifts. They do not act blindly. They act with informed intent, and that intent is invisible to the untrained eye. Life constantly tests these skills through unexpected trials. A sudden opportunity, a chance encounter, an unforeseen problem. These moments are the real laboratories of decision-making. Most panic or flail. The trained mind observes, measures, and aligns internal and external variables before acting. Each decision becomes a microcosm of resilience, adaptability, and strategic awareness. Over time, these moments accumulate into a refined intuition, a subconscious radar that perceives opportunities invisible to those who act impulsively or fearfully. What outsiders call luck is often the result of thousands of such calculated movements, made silently, consistently, and deliberately. Timing is one of the most critical dimensions. Acting too early or too late can completely alter an outcome. The Sigma mind doesn't rush. It observes. Every pause, every hesitation is deliberate, designed to allow the subconscious to fully process the information at hand. This is not procrastination. It is a quiet intelligence of strategic patience. And when the action finally comes, it appears inevitable, as if the universe itself conspired to make the choice right. That is the hidden architecture of decision-making. It is less about the choice itself and more about the awareness and readiness cultivated beforehand. Preparation amplifies every action. A decision made without preparation is gambling. A decision made with foresight is engineering. Consider a world-class athlete stepping into the final moments of a championship game. Every training session, every visualization, every minor adjustment over years converges into that single decision. Where to pass, when to shoot, how to position. Life mirrors this principle. The Sigma mind prepares relentlessly, studies relentlessly, and practices decisively so that when a moment arrives, the choice is clear, confident, and precise. That preparation turns pressure into clarity and chaos into opportunity. Even failure becomes a teacher. Every wrong choice, every misstep, and every missed opportunity is data. The Sigma mind collects, analyzes, and integrates these experiences without shame or self-punishment. Setbacks are reframed as insight and losses as refinement. Each failure strengthens emotional resilience, sharpens judgment, and heightens awareness. In this way, decision-making is both an art and a science. It is a conscious cultivation of insight over time, learning from subtle cues, and moving with disciplined instinct. Ultimately, decision-making is a continuous journey, an interplay between observation, emotion, preparation, and action. Each choice ripples forward, creating outcomes that echo long after the moment passes. The quiet mastery is not in avoiding mistakes, but in developing the foresight, patience, and emotional composure to navigate uncertainty effectively. Those who appear effortlessly decisive have, in truth, trained their minds to perceive patterns, trust intuition, and act deliberately, transforming every ordinary moment into an opportunity for growth, clarity, and strategic advantage. And as these patterns accumulate, the listener begins to realize that mastery is not accidental. It is deliberate, silent, and profoundly attainable. Every great decision-maker has a moment when everything seems uncertain, when logic and instinct pull in opposite directions. Yet in those moments, something subtle happens, a merging of past experience, emotional control, and subconscious calculation. History is filled with such moments. Think of Steve Jobs deciding to return to Apple after being ousted from his own company, an act most people considered foolish at the time. But Jobs understood something others didn't. Innovation isn't about what's safe, it's about what feels inevitably right. His decision was not random genius. It was a result of years of pattern recognition, emotional discipline, and a relentless belief in timing. It was a masterclass in understanding not just what to do, but when to do it. The same principle can be seen in the story of Winston Churchill during World War II. Against overwhelming odds, he refused to surrender when logic and fear demanded compromise. His decision wasn't fueled by blind optimism, but by a clear psychological insight. Human morale is as powerful a weapon as military strength. He understood the subconscious mechanics of influence, how emotion, language, and belief shape not only individuals, but nations. Churchill's ability to make decisions under immense pressure came from emotional intelligence, not just intellect. He didn't react. He responded, a trait that separates true leaders from reactive minds. Now imagine applying that level of clarity to your own life. Each decision you make, whether about career, relationships, or self-growth, carries hidden layers. Beneath the surface lies a web of biases, fears, and desires quietly influencing every thought. The subconscious mind is like an unseen compass, guiding you long before you consciously decide. The Sigma mind learns to listen to this compass. It studies the patterns of intuition, noticing when a choice feels misaligned or charged with unnecessary emotion. That awareness becomes the ultimate advantage. Because when you can interpret the quiet signals beneath the noise, you stop making choices from confusion and start making them from clarity. Here's a quiet exercise. Next time you face a decision, don't rush. Sit in stillness. Observe what happens in your body when you think of each possible choice. Does one path bring calmness, even if it's difficult? Does another bring tension, even if it seems logical? Your body often reveals the truth long before your mind admits it. This isn't mysticism. It's neurobiology. The vagus nerve, the heart rate, the subtle release of stress hormones, they all shift as your subconscious assesses risk. The Sigma mind learns to use this data, translating physical awareness into mental precision. Every calm breath becomes an instrument of strategy. But to truly master decision-making, one must confront the illusion of control. No matter how intelligent or prepared you are, uncertainty will always exist. The goal is not to eliminate risk, but to navigate it with elegance. Think of Elon Musk betting everything on SpaceX when every rocket kept exploding. Each failure was public, humiliating, and financially devastating. Yet, he continued, not from arrogance, but from calculated resilience. He had already made the decision long before success arrived, to commit regardless of outcome. That is the Sigma code. Once the decision is aligned with purpose, the result no longer controls the mind. You move forward with unshakable composure. Another case, Oprah Winfrey. When she was told she wasn't fit for television, she didn't react emotionally. She made a decision anchored in emotional intelligence to build her own narrative instead of fighting theirs. That decision turned rejection into fuel. Notice the pattern. All extraordinary decision makers share one trait: self-trust. They listen to the inner frequency of alignment, a quiet knowing that transcends noise. You cannot teach it through formulas. You cultivate it through awareness, observation, and failure. At this point, ask yourself, how many of your decisions are truly your own? How many are echoes of fear, expectation, or habit? The subconscious runs over 90% of our daily behavior. Most people don't make decisions. They repeat emotional reactions disguised as logic. The Sigma mind interrupts this loop. It inserts awareness between impulse and action. Every pause, Every reflective silence becomes an act of rebellion against conditioning. When you start living this way, your decisions no longer follow the world. They begin to shape it. The human brain thrives on patterns. It seeks safety in repetition. That's why most people stay stuck. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they confuse familiarity with wisdom. The mind whispers, stay where it's safe, even as life urges, move where it's alive. The difference between the two is often a single decision, one that breaks comfort and embraces risk. The Sigma understands that discomfort is data. It signals growth. Every difficult decision, every uncertain path, is a test of alignment. The deeper you go, the more your intuition becomes refined, sharp, and reliable. Sometimes, the most important decisions are the ones no one sees. Choosing discipline over impulse, silence over noise, and patience over chaos. The Sigma doesn't announce every move. It builds quietly, deciding when to reveal and when to hold back. The science of decision-making is not about constant action. It's about precision timing. It's the art of knowing when to advance, when to observe, and when to withdraw completely. Every move is deliberate. Every pause is strategic. And then there are decisions that change destinies, not because of their scale, but because of their alignment. A decision made from clarity radiates energy that alters everything around it, like a ripple on still water. One moment of true awareness reshapes the trajectory of your life. Imagine mastering that, a mind so calm that uncertainty becomes information, so disciplined that chaos becomes opportunity. That is not luck. That is not chance. That is a hidden science of decision-making, the quiet power to bend probability through awareness, courage, and timing. The most powerful minds in history didn't just think. They observed themselves thinking. They trained their subconscious as if it were an instrument. Leonardo da Vinci once said, "The greatest deception men suffer is from their own opinions." He wasn't speaking of arrogance. He was describing awareness. True mastery of decision-making begins when you realize that your thoughts, feelings, and impulses are often echoes of hidden programming, childhood patterns, inherited fears, societal conditioning. The Sigma learns to detect these subtle echoes and replace them with clarity. When you begin to observe yourself, not as a critic, but as a scientist, you begin to see how every decision you've ever made was shaped by invisible hands. And in that moment of realization, you take the power back. Think of your subconscious as a vast ocean. Every past experience, emotion, and perception drifts below the surface, unseen, yet constantly influencing the tide. Most people navigate the sea blindfolded, thinking they're steering the ship, while the currents quietly pull them off course. But a trained mind dives deeper. It explores those depths, understands the currents, and learns to move with them instead of against them. Meditation, solitude, reflection, these aren't escapes. They are maps. In silence, you begin to see the patterns, the kind of decisions you repeat, the emotional triggers that hijack your clarity, the fears that disguise themselves as logic. Once you name these patterns, their power fades. A powerful exercise to unlock this awareness is something I call the pause of clarity. The next time you face a choice, big or small, pause for a moment before reacting. Ask yourself, am I deciding from fear or from alignment? Don't answer quickly. Wait. Let the silence stretch until your body responds. You'll feel it, a sense of contraction or expansion. Contraction means fear. Expansion means alignment. Over time, this practice trains your nervous system to detect emotional interference in real time. It's a decision-making compass, subtle, precise, and deeply personal. You no longer make choices to escape discomfort. You make them to move toward authenticity. History has rewarded those who master this inner calibration. Consider the story of Marie Curie, who defied every social and scientific barrier to pursue her work. When institutions rejected her, when peers dismissed her research, she didn't fight blindly, she adjusted. Her decision to stay focused on what she knew to be true, rather than what others told her to accept, changed science forever. That's the essence of subconscious mastery. The ability to trust the quiet voice within, even when the world grows loud. Every breakthrough, every revolution, every great leap in human progress began with someone who trusted that inner voice. But the subconscious is not only an ally, it's also a saboteur when left unchecked. It remembers pain longer than logic, fear stronger than facts. Every bad decision you've ever made left a small imprint, an emotional signature, and those signatures guide your instincts whether you realize it or not. To refine decision-making, you must cleanse the subconscious of outdated narratives. This requires forgiveness, not of others, but of yourself. Every choice you regret, every missed opportunity, every wrong turn, forgive them. Each one taught you something irreplaceable about timing, emotion, and awareness. Without those experiences, your intuition would be deaf. The Sigma does not resent the past. It studies it and then releases it. Now imagine this. You're standing on a cliff, the wind sharp, the view endless. One step forward means risk, maybe failure, maybe greatness. Most people hesitate here, bargaining with fear, overthinking until opportunity fades. The Sigma steps forward, not recklessly, but decisively. Because beneath that calm exterior is not blind courage. It's a quiet knowing that every leap is guided by preparation. This is where subconscious alignment meets emotional intelligence. It's not about never feeling fear. It's about never letting fear make the final call. Science backs this. Studies in behavioral neuroscience show that decisive people have stronger integration between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, logic and emotion, in conversation rather than conflict. When you train your emotional intelligence, you don't silence emotion. You synchronize it with reason. That synchronization is what creates flow, a state where decisions feel effortless, time slows down, and clarity becomes instinctive. This is why top performers, athletes, artists, leaders speak of being in the zone. It's not mysticism. It's neural alignment born from thousands of deliberate decisions practiced under pressure until instinct becomes mastery. Let's take an example. A pilot mid-flight. Engines failing, alarm screaming. In that chaos, every second matters. Panic kills. Precision saves. The best pilots don't think faster. They think calmer. Their decisions flow from thousands of hours of trained instinct and emotional control. The same applies to life. When chaos strikes, the untrained mind collapses under pressure, but the Sigma mind slows down. It observes. It adapts. It acts. And from the outside, it looks like luck. But it's not luck. It's preparation meeting composure. There's a quiet truth that few ever realize. Every decision you make shapes who you are becoming, not just what happens next. The choices you make when no one is watching, how you treat others, how you handle rejection, how you spend your quiet hours, these micro decisions form the architecture of your mind. You cannot build a calm life with chaotic habits. You cannot build clarity through distraction. Decision-making mastery is not a switch you flip. It's a state you earn through consistent alignment with your values. Over time, you stop chasing outcomes and start cultivating identity, the kind of person who makes strong choices naturally. As we near the end, let me leave you with this thought. Every great destiny begins with a single decision. Not the decision to succeed, but the decision to understand yourself deeply. When you know who you are, every choice becomes simpler, sharper, truer. Life stops feeling like a storm you must survive and starts feeling like a game you know how to play. Some will call it intuition. Others will call it luck. But you'll know it's awareness. It's alignment. It's mastery. And somewhere in that quiet space between thought and action, where logic meets instinct and emotion meets reason, something extraordinary happens. Time slows down, noise fades, and the world seems to hold its breath, waiting for you to choose. It's in that single heartbeat that destinies are written, not with fanfare or lightning bolts, but with stillness, the kind that only those who truly know themselves can recognize. Most people rush through life, drowning in distractions, reacting to every noise, chasing validation in endless loops of confusion. They never hear that whisper. They never feel that space. But you have the power to step into it, to listen to the silence that holds more truth than 1,000 voices shouting at once. Because every decision that truly matters isn't born from thought. It's born from alignment. The mind can rationalize anything. The heart can desire everything, but when both move in rhythm, decisions become effortless. You begin to feel guided, not by luck, not by circumstance, but by an unshakable inner compass that always points toward growth. The Sigma mind doesn't chase certainty. It creates clarity. And clarity is far more powerful than certainty ever will be. It allows you to act even when outcomes are unknown, to move forward even when the path is hidden, because you no longer seek approval. You seek truth. Every great decision maker, every quiet leader, every visionary who reshaped the world understood this hidden art. They didn't just react to life. They sculpted it. They walked into chaos and turned it into strategy. They made mistakes, yes, but they learned from them, transformed them, integrated them. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary lies in this. The ability to pause before the world demands a reaction. To breathe when everything screams for haste. To act, not from fear, but from understanding. That's the space where great lives are built, one deliberate, conscious choice at a time. And as you walk forward from this moment, you might start to notice something subtle. That life itself begins to respond differently. Situations that once confused you now seem transparent. People who once manipulated you now appear predictable. What once felt chaotic now feels almost scripted, like a pattern you finally learned to read. That's not coincidence. That's awareness awakening. The Sigma mind does not control life. It collaborates with it. Every experience, every challenge, every delay becomes part of a conversation with destiny. And once you master that language, life stops being random and starts becoming intentional. So take one deep breath. Feel the stillness inside you expand. You're standing on the edge of your next great decision, not as the person you were, but as the person you become through every lesson, every reflection, every choice that brought you here. The world won't announce the moment when everything changes. It will whisper it, a subtle signal, a fleeting feeling, a quiet nudge within. Will you be ready to hear it? Or will you, like most, let the noise drown it out, scrolling, doubting, waiting for a perfect moment that never comes? The truth is, the perfect moment is never given. It's chosen. It's built by the ones who dare to trust silence more than noise, faith more than fear, instinct more than approval. And when that moment comes, when logic and emotion stand together, when fear softens into focus, you will know. You will step forward without hesitation, without apology, without noise. The world will call it luck, but you'll know it was never luck. It was you. So here we are at the edge of another decision, not the kind you make with signature or a handshake, but the quiet kind, the one you make within yourself. You've traveled far tonight, through logic and emotion, through chaos and calm, through the fragile mechanics of your own mind. You've seen how a thought becomes a choice, and how a single choice can shift the entire architecture of your life. Every decision you've made has carved a version of you. Some were impulsive, others calculated. Some were born from fear, others from faith. But all of them, every single one, has led you here listening, reflecting, becoming more aware of the subtle science that moves beneath your every action. The truth is, decision-making isn't about perfection. It's about presence, about learning to stand still in the storm of possibilities and trust a voice that doesn't shout but whispers. You don't need to control every outcome. You only need to understand your direction, because the one who sees clearly decides wisely. And maybe that's what wisdom really is, not the ability to predict, but the courage to choose even when the future stays silent. When you look back at your life, you'll realize the most powerful moments were never the loud ones. They were the seconds before you spoke, the heartbeat before you acted, the stillness before you said yes or no. That is a sacred space of decision, where your soul shapes its next chapter. So as this chapter closes, remember, you are not defined by the choices behind you, but by the awareness with which you make the next one. And yet, even with clarity, there's one question that lingers in every great decision-maker's mind. When to act, when to speak, when to wait. Because sometimes the right choice at the wrong time still collapses. And sometimes doing nothing, waiting, becomes the most powerful move of all. That's the mystery of timing. It's what separates the impulsive from the strategic, The restless from the wise. Some call it patience. Others call it intuition. But those who master it don't chase opportunity. They attract it. We'll explore that soon. The hidden rhythm of success. The art of knowing when to hold back and when to strike. The science of timing. Why the universe seems to reward those who wait with quiet confidence. As we close this journey, breathe. Let the lessons settle like dust on still water. You've seen how your mind decides, how your emotions disguise logic, how awareness turns chaos into clarity. But in the next story, we slow down. We step into the rhythm behind all motion. We learn why the ones who wait win. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, what if the next chapter of your life doesn't need another decision, but a pause? What if the strength you've been seeking is hidden in patience? Because the most powerful people you'll ever meet aren't the loudest or the fastest. They are the ones who know when to move and when to remain still. This is where we end, and where something deeper begins. Thank you for walking through the hidden science of decision-making. Your mind is sharper, your awareness deeper. Now let it rest, and when you're ready, join me again in the psychology of timing, why patience wins more than talent.